All right. So, welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you again for coming. We are here at our orientation for Practicum for this year for fall 2025. Thank you so much for coming and participating. And we are going to get everything started. Just want to introduce to you um, our Practicum staff that we have. We have, again, I am Dr. Chandra Carr, the Director of Practicum Education. We have Katie, who is our new staff with us this year. And we thank you so much for having her. She is the assistant to the practicum of to the director of practicum. And we have Nikita Miner, who is our program assistant. We have Amber Barker, who is our office assistant. And we have Dr. Anwar Nader Direct, who is our assistant dean of student affairs. And she will give us a welcome at this time.
Thank you, Dr. Carr. And good morning, everyone. Someone mentioned in the chat, it's nice to be home on this cold, snowy day, and I concur. Did not want to be driving this, so nice to have everyone here this morning. So I just wanted to just take a few moments to welcome all of you. I know there are current continuing students, so some of you are already in the program, finishing up your foundation year, moving into the second year. We have new students that are going to be starting as foundation year students or advanced standing students. And some of you are BSW juniors that are preparing for your senior placement. So I really just want to say a few things for all of us to be mindful about things. And some of these you're going to hear several times, but I felt that they were important enough for us to just to keep them in mind. So I'm going to say them even though you might hear them again. And one of those is and again, these are meant to be helpful to you. Please check your email, and should be your Wayne State email. That's what is used in this office, as well as other offices, your advisors, coaches, etc., when we need to send you information about events. And I so know about getting a lot of email. I've had students say to me, I get a lot, so I just don't check them. And I say, well, unfortunately, some information that you're going to get is only going to be sent to you by email. So please make time to check your email because you're going to miss important dates and information. And you'll hear from Dr. Carr and from Nikita when she talks about the way that you're going to get information about starting the practicum process is through email. So you have to check it, and it will be your Wayne State email. So again, please make sure that you're checking that. The other thing I'm going to say is that you're working with your advisor. Our program, both the BSW and the MSW programs are lockstep. So, and we have a concurrent model. So when you're when you're in practicum, there's a specific course that you're supposed to be taking with it. And so all of you have a plan of work. Your advisor created a plan of work or will create a plan of work. If you haven't already had that, please check your plan of work. The one that you want to check is the one that's locked by your academic advisor. If you sway from that, from that plan of work, for example, if you say, well, I think I'm not going to take this course, you could be placing yourself at risk of not graduating. Because our program is lockstep, some courses are only offered some semesters. So for example, in the winter semester for advanced year students, they should be taking a course that focuses on practice in a particular area. If you don't take it this winter, the only other time you'll have is next winter. You could be putting off your graduation if you don't follow your plan of work. So if for any reason you're not able to take a course, please check with your academic advisor. You should be following your plan of work. If you need to make changes to your plan of work, that should happen with your academic advisor. The other thing I want to just really point out is the communication, right? And it's been a long time, but I still remember feeling a lot of anxiety about my practicum. And I totally appreciate and I get that because in our field, you're not working in a vacuum. You're in an agency, you're actually working with clients, you're going to be assigned real clients. It's not AI, you're going to have these. So if you're experiencing any concerns, if you have questions, there's no such thing as a bad question. Ask those questions. Meet with your practicum instructor. Some of you will have folks that are assigned to you as task supervisors. Ask them, or your liaison. Someone, do not put it aside or do not ignore it if you have concerns or questions. The longer you wait to bring them up, the less options often exist to find solutions to any issues that might come up. So I can't stress that enough. And, as a reminder, right, that's the nice thing I think about our program. You have an academic advisor, you have a writing coach in our program, we have a success coach, you have a placement assistant, a practical instructor, a liaison. All of these folks are available. So you're going to find someone that you feel comfortable with and, to go to. Don't ignore that, all of those possibilities if anything does come up. And lastly, I will say this. So as students in the social work program, you are not licensed. Michigan doesn't require social work students to be licensed to practice as student interns. That's not true in every jurisdiction. There are some jurisdictions that actually require students to be licensed by their state in order to be student interns and to practice social work. Michigan does have a practice protection law and a title protection law that says in order to call yourself a social worker, you have to be licensed, and in order to practice social work, you have to have the license. But students in Michigan don't have to be licensed. And what happens is that the school is responsible to make sure that students are practicing ethically and following the law and the public health code, and that they do their work in conjunction with the code of ethics that is put together by the National Association of Social Work. So I say that to say, you know, if there's a concern about ethical practice, it will be dealt with within the school, including your liaison, practicum instructor, Dr. Carr. So it's more reason why I always say, if you have concerns, don't put them aside, bring them up and have conversations. This is the time when you learn. And, you have that safety net. If you aren't, you're not going to always know what to do, and you're not expected to always know, but you are expected to ask questions and to make sure that you are always ensuring that your client's best interests are at heart, which means that you ask questions and you find out how to do things if you don't know how to do them. So I'm going to end my conversation by wishing you a wonderful opportunity, but also remind you to please use those resources that are available to you so that you have a wonderful learning opportunity as you prepare to move from being a social work student to being a professional social worker and start working in the community. So we look forward to working with you and wish you a wonderful coming academic year. Thank you, Dr. Carr.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And again, we welcome you. We welcome you. We welcome you. And just wanted to let you know that again, today we will be giving you a lot of information that will be pertinent to the practicum process. So we know you will have a lot of questions as we go along. So we just ask that you please keep your questions to the end, because I'm sure that throughout the presentation we will be able to answer some of them. But if you do have any burning questions, you can feel free to pop them in the chat. We do have people watching the chat and they can answer them right away for you. So put your questions in the chat, or you can wait to the end and we will be able to answer them at that time. Okay. So we will just go over the agenda so you know what we will discuss today. We're going to give you an introduction into practicum, go over the important dates. We're going to talk about the acknowledgement statement, go over IPT, talk about our special programs, talk about the practicum placement process, talk about changing placements and termination, go over boot camp, talk about practicum instructors and the liaisons, practicum placement staff, and then at the end, as stated, go over questions that you may have. So let's talk about practicum. Practicum is your internship overall. Practicum is the student's ability to learn in a real life atmosphere. Here, the student can see what a social worker does in a variety of settings. So, the intent of practicum education is to connect the theological and the conceptual contribution of the classroom with the practical world of practice setting. It is a basic precept of social work education that the two interrelated components of curriculum, which are the classroom and the practicum, are both of equal importance within the curriculum. So basically, we want you to be able to see what you're learning in the classroom and how it relates to the profession of what you can do in the real world. Practicum education is systematically designed, supervised, coordinated, and elevated based upon the criteria by which students demonstrate the achievements of the program and its competencies. So, who all participates in practicum? All students participate in practicum within the social work program. Everybody will get a chance to be able to do it. However, for the fall semester, BSW students that are seniors, MSW core and foundation students, and the MSW advanced students will participate in practicum. So, why do we have practicum as a part of the social work program? This is for a couple of reasons. It helps students to become a well-rounded social worker. It also helps students identify what type of social worker they want to be. What type of social worker or social work do you like? What type don't you like? What do you want to know more about? And what does the real world of social work look like? It also allows your degree to be certified through the Council of Social Work Education. So that's CSWE. And it mandates that all students have a certain number of hours for practicum. So for our BSW students, they have to have 230 hours. Our MSW students have to have 225 hours per semester to graduate. On our website, it lists the hours and the requirements, and you can find that there under the FAQ section. So, where will you be placed? A lot of students have this question. We have a database called the IPT system. So, I know you have heard that several times before. There are various organizations within that system, and you will have the ability to look into that system to pick your own placement. Later, Nikita will talk about the IPT system, and you'll have a better understanding of how to utilize that system to find out what placement that you want. Please do not try to go out and find your own placement on your own. Please do not go out and try to find your own placement on your own. Please do not call agencies on your own. Please do not go out and try to interview with other agencies on your own by yourself. We are here to help you. Our office is here to help you do that and navigate that process. We have what's called placement assistants, and the placement assistant will help you navigate that process. So, at the end of today, you will find out who your placement assistant is. Okay? If you do that and you go out and you find your own agency on your own, there can be consequences for that. It goes outside of our policies and procedures, and things in the back office will not be able to be taken care of appropriately for you. So we ask you to please work with us and we will work with you. Students can discuss agency options with their placement assistant that may not be an IPT. That's fine. You could definitely have a conversation with your placement assistant about that. And we are happy to explore other agencies and other possibilities that are not there. But again, please make sure to have that conversation with your placement assistant. There is a process for that if you would like to work and be with some organization that is not there. It's a process for that, and we'll work with you in that process. But please note that that process can take up to 2 weeks or more. And there is also a time frame in order for you to get your placement. But again, we are happy to work with you. Just please make sure that you work with your placement assistant in order to go through that process. Okay? Now, do students get paid for practicum? There are some options for students to get paid for practicum. There are some organizations that do provide a stipend for students, but not all of them do. Not all organizations provide a stipend, and it is not mandatory for students to get a stipend for their placement. But there are some that is there. In the IPT system, it is identified and recognized which organizations do provide a stipend. We do have some programs that give a stipend. For example, our Title IV-E, which I'll talk a little bit about more, do provide a stipend. Our BWIT program, which we'll talk about more, do provide a stipend. And so those programs and organizations do. Students who do well within their placements are oftentimes offered full-time positions, and sometimes down the road they are off, often offered stipends within the process of being an intern. So those things do happen. Um, there has also been questions about can you work there as an intern when you have started as an intern? And we do have a policy for that as well. You can become an employee for your second semester as an intern there, and there's a process for that as well. Students have also asked if they can become an intern at their current employer, and that is a possibility. But again, you must talk to your placement assistant about that because there is a policy and procedure for that as well. Okay. Now, here are some very important dates that you must be aware of. I want to start off by saying that our office communicates very heavily, very heavily through email. And as was stated before, we communicate very heavily through your Wayne State email. So if you check your Gmail, Hotmail, or anything else more often through this placement process, I stress to you that you look at your Wayne State email a little bit more than normal. We use the Wayne State email and use that only. So please check your Wayne State email and check it often because that is how we communicate, and we communicate often through that Wayne State email. So the most important dates are tomorrow, which is February 14th. You will receive an email from our office, and it kicks off everything for placement. In that email, you will receive information, more detailed information about placement as far as your placement assistant, and a link to be able to start to schedule your appointment to work with them directly so that you can start the process of getting your placement. You will also get your login and password to IPT system so you can start your placement process. In a little while, Nikita will go over what IPT looks like, so you will have that understanding as well. So that big email that you will receive will come tomorrow through your Wayne State email. So please make sure that you check that email, okay? Because that will be very important. Another date that is very important for you is when practicum begins, and that is on August 25th, 2025. So you need to have your placement all set by that date. And it may seem like it's way down the road, but it's not that far away. So please note too that other students are trying to get the same placement you are as well. So it's placements come first serve. So you want to make sure that you get in touch with your placement assistant as soon as possible. You get into IPT as soon as possible, complete your page, and make sure that you list your agency preferences so that you get the placement that you want and you get it first. Okay. So again, make sure you check your email, make sure you complete your IPT page, and make sure that you are ready for August. All right.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Katie. As Dr. Carr previously introduced me, I am the assistant to the Director of Practicum Education, Dr. Carr, or also known as an Academic Service Officer in the Office of Practicum Education. This information here is about the acknowledgement statement. So some of the really important information that Dr. Carr and Anwar has reviewed will also be available for you to review reading on our website. The acknowledgement statement is going to be a link that you may select in the Intern Placement Tracking System, or known as IPT page, that you will receive your login information to tomorrow. The acknowledgement statement is going to go over the provisions related to practicum placement. This will again review the required hours that you must complete per semester at the practicum office. You will also review the information regarding some questions you may have about availability and hours at a practicum placement site. For example, some students may ask if there are evening hours and weekend availability at a practicum placement. This is something that we highly encourage you to discuss with your placement assistant when you are meeting with them during your practicum placement meeting. So evening and weekend hours are not guaranteed at every practicum placement site. Now, some practicum placements are able to accommodate evening and weekend hours, but most of the agencies our office is partnered with have availability during traditional business hours of a 9 a.m. to 5 a.m. business hours. Some agencies in the intern placement tracking page will also identify if their practicum placement is in person, a hybrid or remote, or virtual placement option. Again, a virtual or remote placement is not guaranteed. And if this is something that you are considering or you have questions or concerns about, we highly encourage you to discuss that during your practicum placement meeting with your placement assistant. Now, also during the provisions related to practicum placement acknowledgement statement that you will review information regarding criminal history advisement. Applicants are urged to respond authentically about their background, and failure to do so could prevent a student from being accepted at a specific agency. So there is a space in the IPT system for students to be able to disclose any information about a criminal history or background. We also encourage students to review this information during their practicum placement meeting with their placement assistant to see if there are any limitations regarding what specific agencies a student may be referred to. This is also the student's responsibility to review that with the agency as well during their interview if they have any concerns. Also, an IPT, you will review information that's going to talk about the requirements from an agency. Now, some agencies have different requirements for a student complete in order to start their practicum placement at their agency. Some agencies require all of these requirements, and some only require a few. It depends upon the agency. So, for an example, an agency requirement may be something such as health testing or a TB test, a background check or fingerprinting, or also maybe testing regarding drug screening. Some agencies have policies that they will require a drug screening before starting practicum at their agency. Some agency may have a policy that they will require random drug screenings throughout the practicum placement. There is also specific information on this acknowledgement statement regarding marijuana. So students must still comply with agency policies regarding the use of marijuana. The second statement that you'll review in IPT when you start this process is going to be called the Professional and Technical Standards. This information on IPT will allow you to select that you've acknowledged the statement and then also sign the statement for the professional, technical, and standards. Then when you meet with your placement assistant will be able to review if you have acknowledged the statement and if you have any further questions.
Thank you, Katie. All right, so we will get into the IPT for you.
Alrighty. So tomorrow you're going to receive a email from me. It's going to go to all students who are going to be in practicum starting in the fall, and it's going.
Dr. Carr, I think you have to not unmute. You have to unmute. When you muted, we can't hear. Was it stopped? Because we're
I think
still
it's
not hearing.
paused.
Yeah, you might have to, right.
Have directions on how to log.
I'll start it over.
Alrighty. So tomorrow you're going to receive a email from me. It's going to go to all students who are going to be in practicum starting in the fall, and it's going to have directions on how to log into IPT. But here's a brief overview of how to log into IPT, just so you have a little bit of skills when you get there. So you'll receive an email with the organization ID, default username, and password to the system. You see those here highlighted in yellow. To access IPT, you can use the Intern Placement Tracking System. You just have to go to IPT or runipt.com. And please note that you have to enter this directly into the address bar of your browser. Do not go to the Google search window. Sometimes it'll take you all the way to the Canadian IPT, and I don't even know if that's the one we use. All right, and then I would honestly bookmark Run IPT for quick access, because this is something that you will be using for a course and you will want to have quick access to it as you're filling out your assignments. So the way that the default login works is when you go into IPT, it's going to ask you, it's going to prompt you for a password or for your password. So the organization ID is always going to be Wayne, all lowercase. All of this is case sensitive. Your default username is going to come in that email, and that's going to be case sensitive as well. And your default password will be IPT, all lowercase, case sensitive. So you will change your username and password on the first login. So your login credentials after you've changed your login will no longer work. We can use these to reset your password, but you would still need to email Practicum Education in order to get your password reset to the default login credentials, and then you would have to reset your password again. So that's just a note. So an suggestion for your username, use your student access ID. If this is a class, just go ahead and use your student access ID, save your username and password in a place that you can access it, and please do not share. And after that, you'll be directed into the student detail page, which I will show you right here. Alrighty. We are back in IPT and we are looking at our home page. The home page is going to give you all of the dates that your practicum assignments are due. It'll also give you the dates that your evaluations are due as well as right at the top there. It'll show you what required clock hours are needed for your school year. They won't change much between this year and next year, so it'll just be changed to 25, 26 school year. Okay, and really the most important part for you all going into the fall semester and in placement season is student detail. So let's break that up. This is your student detail page. It has your name at the top, the organization ID, and what your role is, student. You have agency list and you have home. So when we look at the student detail page, this is what we need from you. The following items must be completed prior to meeting with your placement assistant. So if your student detail page has all these blanks, kind of like mine does, they will ask you to reschedule until your detail page is complete. We want to make sure that all meetings with your placement assistants are generative. And because there are so many students that placement assistants are working with to get into agencies, let's make sure that we respect their time and your own. Okay, so student detail, you know it yourself. First, we need to have this contact area right here filled out 100%, no blanks. We need your last name, your first name, street address, city, state, and zip code, and your student email, please. For your emergency contact portion, we will need this filled out also 100%. No blanks, please. We need their name, and if you could put their relation in parentheses, active phone number, home address with city, state, and zip code. As the name suggests, these folks will be called in the event of an emergency. This information is very imperative, and please do not leave it blank. Alrighty. And over here we have your phone number, how are we going to contact you, and your birth date. Anything that's in black here, these blue pieces, those will come later, but this top portion we will definitely need. All right, you also have your student ID number here, which is something that I put in, and that's how you get your password. Oh, because you will be interviewing with different organizations in order to work with them, your placement assistants are going to need an updated resume to give to these agencies to see if you'll be a good fit. So please upload your student resume. Use this icon here, this this little document icon, and it says manage uploaded resume, student resume, choose a file, and then go ahead. I'm going to share this real quick. It's going to look like this. Manage uploaded document, student resume. Just go ahead and update your resume from there, okay? All right, now back to your page. Once you've done that, and if you're having issues with your resume and you're just like, hey, I need support, Career Services is a great place to stop by. If you need resume support, they can help you, definitely. All right, we also need the statement of acknowledgement signed. And by signing, it just means you use this drop-down box and say yes, okay? So when you have that drop-down box, go ahead and say yes. If you don't accept this, you will have to see your academic advisor before you meet with the placement assistant in the Office of Practicum Education, okay? And we also have professional and technical standards. Please read these, and then you will need to actually put your name in. So let's put Dulce Sloan, okay? And then that will sign as the signature, but I'm in preview mode, so can't do that. All right. If this is not accepted, you will need to meet with an academic advisor, okay? And the Practicum Education manual is right here if you need to see it. It is also on socialwork.wayne.edu. You can just go to the Practicum tab and we have everything there. And of course, we got interview tips, okay? Now, when you are filling out this profile, please save. There's a save button at the top, and there's a save button at the bottom. Find one and use it. Because if you don't, then any information that you add will not save. And you don't want to keep doing this over and over again. I understand. So to find your faculty liaison, now that we're back at the top of the page, it's underneath your birth date. Your faculty liaison will be listed here. And as you can see, their name, phone, and email will be provided to you. Your placement assistant, their name will be here, and their name, phone number, and email will be provided to you. You have the option also to add your own photo right here. Okay. Now this is part 2 of the student detail page. So once we get all the way through part 1 of the detail page, that means get the contact information in. Now we need to know more about your interests as a student to make sure that you get the placement that you are most interested in, but obviously there are no guarantees. So we're going to go to the bottom of interview tips. We're going to start at curricular year. Curricular year is going to be next year. So if you are a BSW in courses right now and you plan on being an MSW next fall, then you need to go ahead and put what you're going to be doing for next fall. If you are an MSW core student and you'll be doing an advanced, you'll be moving into your advanced year practicum, you will need to put MSW advanced, okay? Please include your gender, your county of residence, whether or not you're registered for 6 credit hours, which means you'll be part-time, right? Full-time or part-time status. That will affect the number of hours that you are required to get within, well, I don't think it affects the number of hours that you're required to get, but it affects the way that, we see things on our end. And then concentration area. So because this is an MSW advanced student, we have ICPL, which will be CESA next year. And then we have interpersonal practice, which won't change as well. And then, are you electing to have a 3-day placement? Are you able to do that? Will you accept a placement into an agency that requires a 3-day commitment? Yes or no? Do you have a card to be able to get to practicum? Yes or no? And do you speak any language other than English? Please identify. All right, provide any and all history related to current legal interactions. Go ahead and put that in there. And then for MSW advanced folks, this is what you're going to see. Core folks and BSW folks are not necessarily going to see this portion where it says, please choose one concentration in your special interest area. So if you are an IP student, you are going to pick one of these, okay? If you are an ICPL student, you're going to pick one of these. Okay, so when I say one of these, I mean you can hit multiple, like you can click on multiple, but you can't have, you can't mix and match either your interpersonal practice or your innovation and community and policy leadership, which is going to be CESA next year. And then I'm going to stop sharing for just a quick moment. Alrighty, and just a quick note, I'm going to go back up and I'm going to say this. When you choose your curricular year, it affects the rest of this application or the rest of your page. So if you choose the wrong year, then the concentration and special interest area and the things that the placement assistant is going to use to place you will be incorrect. So please be sure that you're putting in the correct year, which is going to be for this fall. Okay, not for the current placement, because some of you are currently in placement. Agency. This is another section of the, this is section 3 of your student detail page. You can list if you've been at another placement agency, indicate when you are available for practicum. So you need to be available between 16 and 14 hours, depending on your registration, part-time, full-time. From AM to PM, put some numbers in there. Any scheduling restrictions? Do you work? Do you have children? What is your schedule really looking like? And based on what you've learned from previous placement experiences, what skills do you want to learn in the upcoming year? So we're going to put a pause just on this portion because this is an MSW advanced student, remember? So MSW advanced students are looking to build upon the skills that they have from previous practicum times and previous experience in the social work field. But our most important portion is the agency preferences. So this is the bread and butter. This is what you want to see. You want to go to agency list. You see we have all these agencies, A to Z. You can see everybody just keeps going, just keeps going. We have over 600 agencies and even more practicum instructors. What you want to do as a student is you want to either search for an agency that you like. So let's put Mission Thrift here. There we go. And anything that has the word mission or thrift is going to pop up. Okay. All right, we're back at the agency list. We just hit search. But now we're going to go to sort. We have a few drop downs. So we have agency name, address, MSW, BSW, county, and primary classification. They all say the same thing. But according to how you set these up, you can have location first. So we can put address, county, and then agency name. All right, we do sort. Then it'll sort from A to Z from the address. Okay. And so it won't be alphabetical by the agency, but by the address. All right, when you sort by agency name, it's going to give you everything. So let's go to sort. Let's go to primary classification. Then we can sort by address and agency name. So there you go. We have the primary classification. If you're a mental health outpatient, this is for you. And then we have the addresses of those places. You can also search by county if you want to do that county. And then you can also, see the actual agencies along the left. Alrighty, now this is the trick. You got to add 3 to 5 to your profile. Go to the agency, scroll all the way down after you've read through. Add preference. Just click on add preference and it will add it to your student detail page right here.
It might have stopped
All
again, Dr.
right.
Carr.
All right, perfect.
Alrighty. So tomorrow you're going to receive a email from me. It's going to go. All right.
All right, awesome. All right, so now we will discuss our special programs. As I stated before, we have some specialty programs that are related to the Practicum office. We have our Behavioral Health Workforce Education and Training Program, which we call BWIT. Kate and Eric are here today, and they can share more information about this program, which gives students interested in children and healthcare a $10,000 to $15,000 grant per semester. We have the Community Homeless Interprofessional Program called CHIP and Interprofessional Team Home Visit Program called IPTV. These are two programs that Christy Price can discuss further. Students get the opportunity to earn hours outside their practicum and help in the medical field. The Michigan Earn, Learn, and Serve in Schools program gives students who are interested in working in schools a $20,000 stipend. Angela Oliveira is here and she can give more information about this program. For Michigan Title IV Child Welfare Fellowship, we have that program and students can receive $10,000 if they are interested in child welfare. There will be an informational meeting on April 9th at 10 a.m. and that meeting is in person at the School of Social Work. And more information will be coming forth. An invitation, you should see that coming forth. And Angela Oliveira is here again to talk about that as well. The SMART Internship Grant is another program for students who are interested in school social work as well, and they are eligible to receive $15,000 per student. Please speak to Angela Oliveira about that opportunity as well. The Detroit Tri-County Social Work Health Center Health Career Opportunity Academy program, which we call HCOP, is also available for students. Students can receive a total of $4,200 a year if they choose to participate in this program. You can speak with Katie Martinez Orzario and for more details about that program, and she is here today as well. For the infant mental health program, please speak with Dr. Carla Karinji. And there are special scholarships and opportunities associated with that program as well.
This information is going to be regarding the practicum placement process. So again, tomorrow, February 14th, students will receive an email from the Office of Practicum Education regarding the instructions for the practicum placement process. This information here will provide an overview of the practicum placement process. If you have questions about the process, when you receive the email tomorrow, you will be able to identify who your practicum placement assistant is. That placement assistant also will be able to provide more detailed information regarding the practicum process. and then information regarding things for the IPT profile or completing your IPT profile. The Office of Practicum Education contact information will be provided at the end of the presentation. So the start of the process again will be receiving the email from the Office of Practicum Education. You'll review the email with the instructions for the placement process. The email also will include the placement assistance that will be assigned per your program. So if you are a Bachelor's of Social Work senior student, if you are a Master of Social Work foundation course student, for your Master of Social Work advanced standing student, you will be able to see who your placement assistant is and who to contact. There will also be links for your placement assistant calendars, and this is how you will schedule your placement assistant meeting. After reviewing the email, you are going to have, as Nikita said in the video, the login information for IPT. You are going to complete your student detail page, which will include your contact information, uploading your resume, and on the IPT page, there is a link that will provide examples and references regarding completing your student resume. You will also review, as I discussed, the acknowledgement statements and sign the 2 statements on the IPT page. You will provide information on your student detail page, such as your hours of availability, if you have any concerns or possible restrictions to your hours of availability, choosing areas of interest based on your concentration for your program. And then also, you will add at least 3 agency preferences to your IPT page before you schedule your meeting. So, as Nikita showed, there are options to sort by agencies by address, by your program year, primary classification, and area. When you're looking at agencies on IPT, those are the agencies that if you are interested in possibly interviewing or attending practicum at the agency, then you will add them as an agency preference to your IPT page. So again, you need to add at least 3 agency preferences before you schedule the meeting with your placement assistant. Now, if the agency preferences are not added to your IPT page, your placement assistant may contact you by email and inform that they need to cancel and reschedule your meeting, because this is something that needs to be completed prior to attending your practicum placement meeting. If you have questions or concerns about how to add agency preferences to your IPT profile, again, the Office of Practicum Education's contact information will be provided at the end of this presentation. And if you go to the School of Social Work's Practicum Education's website, there also are links about how to add agency preferences to your IPT page. Once you've completed your IPT page, added at least 3 agency preferences, then you will utilize the calendar link in the email to schedule a meeting with your practicum placement assistant. A meeting is required to be completed with your practicum placement assistant as part of this process. During your placement assistant meeting, your placement assistant will review in detail the practicum placement process. Now, again, as Dr. Carr said, please do not contact agencies before receiving communication from your placement assistant. It is your placement assistant's responsibility to communicate with the agencies on your behalf. So again, please do not start contacting agencies about practicum until you meet with your placement assistant. Your placement assistant during the meeting will review the process. They will answer any questions or concerns about practicum, and you will also have an opportunity to review your agency preferences that you have selected with your placement assistant. At that time, then, your preferences will be reviewed, and your placement assistant will inform you that they will start communicating with the agencies regarding practicum. Once your placement assistant is able to communicate with agencies, they're going to ask if the agency can interview with you for a practicum placement. You will then receive clear communication to your Wayne State email from your practicum assistant stating that you are able to contact the specific agency. They will provide you the contact information, the contact person's name, and in that email, it will state you can now contact the agency to schedule your practicum interview. So again, please don't contact agencies on your own before you receive the specific email from your placement assistant stating that you can schedule your interview for practicum placement. Then you will contact the agency and schedule your interview at the placement site. You can discuss any questions or concerns, or if you're having difficulty scheduling your interview with your placement assistant. And then after the interview, again, if you have questions or concerns, you can discuss this with your placement assistant. The agency will receive a referral from the Office of Practicum Education and other documentation that needs to be completed in order to state if they're able to accept the student for practicum or if they're not able to accept the student for practicum. If the student is accepted for the practicum placement, the student will receive an email from the Office of Practicum Education confirming this, and then we'll be encouraged to discuss directly with the practicum placement site, preparing for their first day, seeing if they've met all their requirements, and also ensuring they know who the contact person is at their practicum placement. If after a student interviews at an agency and the agency is not able to accept a practicum placement, then the student will communicate with their placement assistant, and the process will begin again of the placement assistant communicating to agencies for the student and then providing a new referral for a new interview for practicum. So again, during this process, you will have the contact information from your placement assistant, and you can communicate to your placement assistant during this process if you have questions. The placement assistants will be communicating mainly to your Wayne State emails. So it's very important to check your Wayne State email because that is where the information regarding your interview will be sent to.
Thank you. So let's talk about changing placements or terminations. Now, there have been times when students have not been happy with their placement. We do have a policy that states we do not change students' placements. Once they have been placed, that is where you will be. This is why we stress to students that they take placement process very seriously and they make all efforts to choose an organization that fits with their career choice and it fits with their goals and it fits with their schedules and it fits with what they want to be, what they want to do, fits with their locations, fits with their aspirations, fits with everything about them in the beginning. That's why we stress that they take this process very seriously and they work very closely with their placement assistant in the beginning. We also stress that they work with their placement assistant in the beginning. So meaning that do not procrastinate is the best way that I can say it. You know, don't wait to the last minute so that you can get the placement in the organization that you really want to work with in the beginning. So that is very, very important. I cannot stress that enough. Okay. We want you to get where you want to be, and we want you to be happy where you are. And in order to do that, it's best that you do it in the beginning. Now, if there are problems and issues that may arise at your organization during your placement, we want to take all steps to try to work out those problems and those issues when they do arise. We do not want to just leave them on the table. So we stress that you work with your liaison to work out any problems or any issues that you have. Our goal is to problem solve. Our goal is to try to work those situations and those issues out. And I will talk about who your liaison is a little later, but we want you to work out any problems or issues that you have, work with your liaison and your practicum instructor to try to help make things better in the long run instead of just changing the placement. Now, students may have to change their placement if there is an issue of safety or if there is an issue of emergency. So, for example, if the practicum instructor quits or leaves and there is no one else qualified to be the practicum instructor, then absolutely we may have to change the placement. In cases like that, it's totally understandable and we will go ahead and do it. But we do not change placements if the student no longer has transportation to the organization or if the student moves and is in a new location or anything like that. It is up to the student to make arrangements and to navigate through life changes in order to get to their placement. Okay. Remember, you get to pick the placement. So be sure to pay attention to locations when you are picking placements in IPT. And also ask the necessary questions in the interview. You are interviewing the organizations just like they are interviewing you. So you can ask them whatever questions you may have. Be sure to discuss your schedule in the beginning. Do not wait till you are there on day one to talk about the schedule. Talk about the schedule during the interview process. Be sure to ask any upfront questions that you have or concerns that you have during the interview, because those things are important factors that make sense to discuss at that time, will help to make up your mind if you want to be there or not in the beginning. Terminations do occur within placement as well. Termination is when the placement tells the student that they do not want them to return. This is usually because the student's behavior is not conducive with the work that they are supposed to be doing. Examples are students not coming in on time, not completing their tasks that are given, not acting appropriately towards staff or the clients. If the student is terminated from their placement, they will have to go through the placement process all over again, and a new placement will be found for them. But please note that if we have to find the student another placement when terminated, it can it can't be guaranteed that they will get the placement that they want. They might get whatever placement is left at that time and whatever time that may be. So that means it may not be in your area and it may not match your availability. Therefore, it may be best for you to keep your original placement if possible. So please keep that in mind when a termination occurs. If the student is terminated due to behavior, that also can be reflected in their grade. Sometimes the student will have to meet with myself or Dr. Nader direct in order to get a new placement when a termination has occurred. So please keep that in mind as well.
This information is regarding to something that the Office of Practicum Education refers to as the boot camp orientation. So boot camp orientation occurs in August, and so students will receive clear communication regarding the dates for the boot camp orientation, which we plan to attend the first week of classes. So that would be August 25th through August 28th, 2025. And during this bootcamp orientation, there will be different sessions available virtually Monday through Thursday to accommodate for students' schedules. Now, this type of orientation is to allow students to receive further information regarding practicum before attending their practicum placements for the next 2 semesters. There's topics such as expectations for practicum, the different types of practicum placements, liaisons, communication, and maybe further topics. This information is to help students feel prepared to attend their practicum placements. During the bootcamp orientation that is virtual, there is also an opportunity to meet the Wayne State faculty liaisons, and this will be discussed when Dr. Carr provides information about the role of a faculty liaison. So again, this is something that's offered in August, the first week of classes for the fall 2025 semester. And before this orientation, further communication will be provided to students so students are aware that they're able to attend. Now, this orientation also, when students attend, they are able to attend orientation, and then this attendance will provide them with hours towards their practicum hours. Now, if students have class scheduled at the time during the orientation, then students are expected to attend class. But this is why we try to accommodate different schedules. And again, further information will be provided before August requiring and providing information for the boot camp. The term practicum instructors is frequently used throughout the practicum placement process. So I wanted to provide an overview of the role of a practicum instructor. A practicum instructor is an individual who has a master's of social work and experience in the field of social work that works directly at the agency that you may be attending practicum at. So again, this individual is someone who works at the agency and would be providing instruction or be a task supervisor to help you with your roles and responsibilities at the agency. The practicum instructor also may be the person who you mainly communicate with the agency, meaning regarding your schedule, regarding tasks, and responsibilities. The practicum instructor is also going to be the identified individual who is going to be signing and reviewing your assignments in IPT. So assignments such as process recording or praxis, your learning plan for the semester, and they will be completing your evaluations for practicum. A practicum instructor also is the identified individual at the agency that will be providing your at least 1 hour a week of weekly supervision for your practicum placement. The practicum instructor also might be the individual who is going to communicate with yourself in the faculty practicum liaison to coordinate, schedule, or attend your site visits throughout the semesters.
Sorry, I was talking and I was muted. I want to go over really briefly about the liaisons, but we are at time. But this is really important, and I don't want to hold you too much longer. But the liaisons are very important to the practicum process, and they are key to your success. So, your liaison is your go-to person. Anytime you are having any problems, any issues with your placement, this is the person that you want to call. If you have questions about your assignments, if you want to have any issues with your practicum instructor or your practicum as well, they are your direct link to Wayne State as a whole. Please contact them. Please reach out to them. Please communicate with them. Please do not feel like any issue is too big or too small. That is who you want to talk to. Communication with them is vital, and you need to start talking to them as soon as day one. You should always be communicating with your liaison on a regular basis. And this year, what we're going to do is make sure that you get introduced to them at the boot camp for fall 2025. But you will be able to see you are always able to see their contact information on IPT. But I just want to consistently and continuously stress, even those who are in practicum now, your liaison should always be like your best friend. You want to make sure that you are always reaching out to them, contacting them about any and everything. They will do site visits. They should do two, one for your fall semester and one for the winter semester. And they could be virtual or in person to make sure that all is well there. They should be communicating with your practicum instructor as well. You should see them more than just when grades are due. You should see them and talk to them regularly. Okay. I cannot stress how important your liaison is to your practicum experience. Okay. Um, your placement assistance, again, you will get this information in the email, but I just want to go over it really quickly. If you are interested in infant mental health, Dr. Carla Karenji is who you will contact. Tracy Bishop will be over mental health and substance use. Katie Bellucci will be working with our core MSW students. Myself, Dr. Chandra Carr, will be working with the BSW students. Christy Price will be working with our CESA, Holistic Defense, and MEO students. Kate Oleksiak will be working with our healthcare and gerontology students. She is a part of BWIT as well. Angela Oliveira will be working with our child welfare students and the students who are interested in schools. Eric Schimmel will be working with our mental health and SUD students, and he is a part of BWIT as well. Okay. And again, you will get this information in the email. If you have any questions, please feel free to stay on. We are happy to answer them. But this is the contact information for our office. Please contact our office directly if you have any questions, you need help, assistance, or guidance through this process. Nikita, myself, and Katie will be here to assist you as needed. And thank you so much for your participation in this meeting. So those who need to leave can leave, but those who want to stay, we will be here to answer any questions that you have. Thank you so much.